This week on Rockstar Superhero. Every once in a while, I am so excited to talk to a member of a band that I can't see straight. I can't slow myself down. I mean, my stomach hurts before the interview and I get dry mouth. So really, honestly, I'm just a walking embarrassment. Today on the Rockstar Superhero Podcast, I have Brian Mullins, the monster drummer from the Cold Stairs. Brian is a magical player and the Cold Stairs are the best place to hear his groove. The duo has been together for 14 years, and good gravy are they good. I mean, I have to take that back. They aren't good. They are amazing. They are everything a band should be. Incredible songs, cool lyrical content, and grooves for days. They are so next level it makes my stomach hurt talking about them right now. I'm pretty sure that if you don't yet know their work, the chances are you'll love them as much as I when you hear those fat tones and that masterful approach to modern rock. Good God, are they good. To quote Rob Reiner, enough of my yakking. Let's boogie. This is my fanboy interview with Brian Mullins, the grooviest drummer east of the Mississippi, on the Rockstar Superhero Podcast.
You are going to see me smile a lot during this time together, so just try to ignore my increasing fandom as we go, okay?
Right on, man. Right on.
So the first thing I want to talk to you about is Indiana. Your band is from Indiana, is that correct?
Yeah, sort of. We're both actually from Kentucky, and we moved to Indiana, both of us about 10 years ago. So
okay.
We met some Indiana girls, and they pulled us across the Ohio River into Indiana. So realistically, it's a 5-minute drive. It's just like, you just cross the river, and then you're in a different state. So it's not, Chris commuted, or he had a different, he had a little bit longer of a move, like 45 minutes away, So we're both from two really small towns in Kentucky, Henderson and Madisonville. So no one's ever heard of those places. And we didn't live in the same town, so it was, but now it's much simpler. We both reside in Evansville, Indiana. So
nice. Yeah, I thought maybe you were going to say Louisville, just because it's just on the other side of the border, right?
Yeah, it is too. It kind of runs parallel. The states run parallel, sort of for a little bit. And Louisville's about 2 hours to the east of us.
Oh. Wow. Okay. So I've been to Santa Claus a number of times because of Holiday World. So you're not that far, because the state has kind of a hook to it. So Louisville is, like you said, 2 hours to the east. You guys are sort of on the western third, correct?
Yeah,
about a third
very south.
Yeah.
Southernmost point, probably, of Indiana.
Yeah.
So we're down there in the corner by Illinois and Kentucky. So.
Okay. Well, all that being said, the band sounds like it's from this area of the world, and I can't quite pinpoint what that means to me. So I feel like I'm kind of making this up, but the reality is it seems to pinpoint a spot on the map for me. Your music has an identifiable sound. It sounds like old Delta blues. It sounds like modern rock, but it sounds like you are positioned in this area of the world. And I guess that's where I was coming from when I said you sound like you're from Indiana, because it's blue collar and it's old school. It's impossible to deny. What led to the creation? How did you guys form? How'd you get together?
Well, as I mentioned, we're from two pretty small places. So when you want to do this with your life, you find other like-minded people, and it's just, that's the hardest part is finding, somebody that I was looking for, somebody that wanted to make a record, and, had been on the hunt for years, that's just what I was always after, and, Chris and he came in as a guitar player for another project, and that lasted about 30 minutes, and we decided we would do our own thing, and it just kind of stuck, So we tried a few different things with a bass player at one point, and but this band started out of a hiatus, and Chris just wanted to jam some songs,
Gotcha.
But it was kind of undeniable with the first two songs he brought in, along that started the Cold Stairs, were Jesus' Brother James and a song called John. And he brought him in the same day,
Wow.
And that just, and I'd been working with the guy already, but that just changed. That changed everything. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely in on this. I'm going to keep this train moving. I want, let's, I was totally in on his songs,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, it's awesome that, I am a drummer as well. And so that gives us a lot to talk about.
Right on, man. Yeah.
Right. The thing that I've noticed, and I don't understand your songwriting perspective, right? The way you do things yet, because we haven't talked about it, but I've found that drummers are the best at arrangements and, sort of fitting in rhythmic ideas that complement the song, right? Versus sort of completely changing its feel. Does Chris bring in a fully formed tune and you sort of bring your, incremental perspective to it, or do you actually write together now as a duo since you're established?
Well, it's really happened all the above. A lot of times, he might come in with a song and he'll have a verse and a chorus, guitar wise, and we'll jam it out and see how it feels. If it sounds good, then he'll take it, and we record every practice. He'll take it and hum along in the car and see if it sticks or not. If he has a good verse and a chorus, and he wants to make it. I learned a long time ago, like, I like all the stuff, most of it. So I learned, not to fall in love with a song on the first date, because, Chris has to love it too, and if he's not feeling it, it's not going to happen. So, it's, but yeah, so it works all the above. A few of the songs, and certainly all the acoustic material, he's, he says it just comes to him, and,
right.
And some of the other stuff, it's like, garage band days, we're in my basement, and, one of us starts playing something, or sound check, one of us starts playing, and you just start jamming. A lot of songs have come out of that too,
Right. Yeah. And I imagine you don't want to mess up the secret sauce, right? I mean, now you're clearly a duo. There's no desire to bring in a third party at this time.
No, I mean, the conundrum is, in the studio, Chris plays, he'll play the bass parts, he'll play some organ, anything that we don't hit, he'll play. So, and we've been doing it that way a very long time. And then live, we just play the two of us, he brings in the bass when the song gets louder, he brings in the other instruments, it's not verbatim, the live show to the record, so, right. If we wanted to sound exactly like the record, then we would have to do something about that, play the tracks, bring in another member. And again, you mentioned the secret sauce, it's,
it's what it is, man.
I don't think it's lacking anything. I like the way it sounds, I just don't know where it would sonically go,
Yeah.
So, who knows? Never say never.
Yeah, well, I think anything would cloud the picture, right? I mean, obviously, if you added another melodic instrument like a keyboard or something like that, it would completely wonk it.
Yeah.
So, and it's proof in the pudding when you listen to all the stuff you're doing. And I'm not talking about the recorded pieces, but the live stuff, the stuff you're putting on Facebook Live, right? These sort of 30 or 40 second snippets. They're so balls to the wall and so heavy and guttural. I can't imagine it needing anything else,
Yeah, I seem to agree. I agree with you. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I know. Did you try a million different ideas in the beginning to see what would happen? I mean, did you consider, hey, maybe we should try being a two-piece prog band, or was it always about blues and rock?
No, this one's always been, I think that's the hardest part also, besides finding someone, is knowing what it is and what it isn't. We had a few bands before that weren't that stellar, it just didn't have the secret sauce or whatever it is. This band, I feel like when he starts playing and I start playing, that we both, if it sounds good and we both enjoy it, the rest of the world melts, it just kind of drifts away, and it just, so that's maybe that's the secret sauce, so.
Yeah.
Just,
it's funny listening to your material. The very first moment I heard it, about 10 seconds in, I closed my eyes and I started imagining if I were the drummer in this band, what would I do? And
right. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And you played everything my brain said I would play. So I identified with it so quick. Right.
Okay.
And it made me think, once I found out I was going to be talking to you, I thought, here's a question to ask Brian. The first show you're playing and you sit down and you start that first song and you're into the groove and you've got your eyes closed and it's just happening. And then you open your eyes up and you see this audience staring at you. Was that your experience? Because I would imagine there would just be this sort of natural event happening in the crowd that people would just be like, oh, they're for real. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And, honestly, that the very first gig, we were an opening act and we just had 3 or 4 songs loosely put together. It was very raw. And, it was done with a fair amount of sarcasm. We weren't, I didn't know how much legs this thing had, at least in that initial formula we had, So, but it was bigger than us and it consumed us and we stay with it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like as put together as it is now, I don't remember feeling like we just conquered the world or anything. No.
Well, I think it has to be hard to be a duo in any way, shape or form, especially once you've followed the likes of, say, the White Stripes, right? Because you're going to get those weird comparisons that aren't fair because you sound nothing like the White Stripes.
Of course.
Right? People are going to go to those automatics, right? But the other day I saw that Joe Bonamassa, of all people, said, wow, guys, keep going, man. This is freaking phenomenal. I mean, he used words like phenomenal. And this is Joe Bonamassa. What does that feel like to have basically a guitar legend say you're doing the right thing?
It means a lot to have anyone you respect, give you a genuine compliment, especially when they don't need to, or, like I said, a genuine compliment. It feels amazing. Of course it does,
Mm-hmm.
and somewhat, self-affirming, if you will, I'm sure, that when someone reaches out that you respect, and gives you a pat on the back, it does feel good. And I think we all owe it to ourselves, us musicians, so okay, feel that, enjoy it, of course it feels good,
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Your music is different compared to anything I've ever heard in that as a duo, not only do you not sound like a duo, but you sound so rehearsed. There's such a sense of tightness and placement. You're doing the songs exactly how they should be done. And I don't know if that's coming through to other people, but my brain, I hear this and I say, wow, this is like a dream band. These guys are doing this intense, straightforward rock and roll, but it sounds so perfect and so impeccable. I mean, are you just rehearsing all day? It's so well done. The sense of time is amazing. I know I keep using the word impeccable, but I don't even know what other word to say. It's perfect. It's
Thank
great.
you. Yeah, no, we don't rehearse that much. We really don't. I think what it is, I think it's we've been playing together for a long time, 14 years or so, with before the, so sometime there before the Cold Stairs. I think that's a lot of it. And a lot of a similar influence, we heard, like it or not, we heard the same songs on FM radio forever. So that's going to seep in there, so you get two guys that have listened to a lot of the same stuff, that have been pursuing their craft for a long time. I think it would fall together pretty quickly with, a couple of great players, from that standpoint. But thanks for noticing, I think we just kind of know each other's tendencies,
Yeah. No, it's great. One of the things I wanted to ask about the record, or your recording process in general is, are you an all analog band? Because to me, the tones are so round. It just can't, I can't fathom that this is a digital recording. And I mean, I get it. Nowadays we have so much, technical ability to make old sounding records, but it's in a modern way. But It sounds like this is a 24 track Studer 2-inch recording. What are you doing?
Well, thanks. You don't know, man. We've, I think a lot of it was the room, Sam Phillips in Memphis. I think it's the room. The room's got magic in it. There's a lot of history in those walls, and I like the way it sounds, especially for tracking drums. I really do. It's got a weird roof, with weird angles, and it's like a metal roof with a lot of perforation. It's I think that's it more than anything, and just the style we record in. There's certain, we do it old school in the way that we just mic up the drums and then mic up the amps, and we play together. Chris and I will track drums and guitar together. He'll do a vocal, then we'll season it, with a shaker, an organ, and that's it.
Yeah, you season it. That's a perfect way to put it. So I am hearing bass in there, though. I mean, like you'd mentioned before, you are adding bass. Are you finding that people are noticing the live performance? Do they ever say that it's lacking?
Never. No, I don't think. No, not at all. I think the live show is a different animal. To compare it and say it's better, would sound maybe pompous. I don't mean that, but it is different. But it stands on its own. And I think people don't mind or even notice. No one's even really mentioned it, because I think hopefully when we play it live, even if we have to rework the song a little bit to do it live, we're doing the song justice, it's not a wank fest. Hey, listen, how's this going to come across live? And some songs just don't,
Sure.
So they just make their way out of the list, and a new one gets its way in,
Yeah. Influences. I know this is a really obvious question. Everybody probably asks this of you every time, but who are the people that shone through for you? Who changed your life as a drummer?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know if there was any one specific individual or record or person that really did. I had a couple of great teachers, when I was a kid, and I think that was it. Just music was my best drum lesson, if you will. Just listening to records, I think. I think that's probably. There's no. I'm different in that regard. I don't have a favorite band that I have everything that they ever did and I love it all. I'm really kind of a one album guy. I just want that. Whatever album I like, that's enough, and then there's just so many bands out there, So I'm very guilty of listening to my favorite records over and over. And I usually only have like one or two or three by that artist,
Interesting. So then that leads me to ask the question, what do you like that is sort of esoteric, right? That's something you think is the greatest thing in the world and nobody else likes it, like your favorite weird Kate Bush record, or you see what I'm saying? Something really obscure.
Yeah, well, I don't know about obscure, but like Frank Zappa,
Oh,
Joe's
there you go.
Garage album. I really love that record. Um, it's goofy in the lyrics, really, I feel like they're in the way more than anything,
Yeah.
it's comical the first time you hear it, but there's so much else going on there, that cast, the personnel, so that's a little off the beaten path. There's not room, none of that stuff like has a home in the cold stairs, that's just,
Gotcha.
maybe occasionally an odd time thing or something, but
Sure.
that's maybe off the beaten path, the early Pink Floyd stuff, some psychedelic stuff, Soft
Gotcha.
Machine,
Gotcha.
that early 70s prog rock,
Like Genesis type prog rock?
Yes, yeah, sure. Early Genesis, yeah. I'll go down those wormholes for a little bit, King Crimson, UK.
There you go. Oh my God. Wait a minute. UK. So now we're talking here because as a drummer, obviously I clearly understand why you like UK, whether it's Bill Bruford or Terry Bozzio. They're both incredible performances. If I had to ask you though, to set aside 2 to 3 of your favorite LPs, what would they be?
Man, Bitches Brew by Miles Davis.
Awesome.
That it just, man, it hits me. I don't know what it is. I know sometimes it sounds like noise and chaos, and I understand that people, and I can't pretend to understand all of it or absorb it, but it's just so deep. There's so much going on there, so much to listen to. So I think I just don't get tired of it. I'll notice new things, both ugly and beautiful that just keep me coming back to it, so that's one. That's
a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you grow up in a musical family? Were you influenced by, your brothers or sisters? I mean, of course, I don't know your family situation if you're an only child or siblings, but, what were the influences around your home?
Not really that many. Neither one of my parents played music. They had me pretty young, and the regular duties of life were in the way really fast as far as those kind of things, but I have a brother, and I think he's younger, but I think he would have been a much better musician. He just, I think it would have come a little bit more natural to him, truth be told, so, but he just never really pursued it on the level that I did, but not really, not a musical family, no instruments in the house until now. My neighbor had a drum set, and I would hear those drums, and then, it sounded cool. And he was playing along to like the Police, and Phil Collins, the stuff that was on the radio at the time, they were current hits at the time, and, when I saw the drum set, it was like gold sparkle, big double bass kit, bunch of cymbals. God. It's the coolest thing you could possibly see, and I was like, holy shit, I'm hooked,
Yeah.
So I wanted drums, but I was a kid, you dabbled in drum lessons. Oh, this is hard. I can't do this. I did that several times before I realized, it's going to be hard. It's not going to just happen, at least not for me,
Yeah. But you're a Ludwig guy, right?
I am, but I've been flirting with Gretsch. I played a Gretsch kit on our Scandinavian tour, a little 2-week tour we did. And it was just like a mid-level kit. I can't remember the exact style, and I think they've changed a little bit since then. But I really liked it. It sounded good. All the hardware was friendly. The screws, the mounting screws and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I played a few Gretsch sets. So I like the new Gretsch and the old Ludwigs. So
yeah.
Good thing I don't have an affiliation, so I can. Without guilt, play both.
No, that's cool because I thought you were endorsed by Ludwig, so that's really cool.
No.
Yeah. Do you have any endorsements right now? Any symbols or anything like that?
No, nothing.
Man, you should.
I don't know, man. I think I like it that way, and I'm going to keep it that way.
Okay.
I symbol wise, it would be an easy choice. I love Peisty, and that's the sound of the cymbals in this band. Always has been, probably always will be.
Yeah.
So. That's the sound for this band, so those are my favorite cymbals, but I like to mix it up, as far as the other stuff, change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. One of the questions I'm always hesitant to ask, but I do want to ask this today of you because I think you're open to the idea, is I found that most successful people in life are able to overcome something that would stop others from doing the same task. You know what I mean? Like people who desire to be in the music business, but are overcome. They don't have the courage or the fearlessness or the stupidity to pursue. There it is, right? To pursue a life in art. Yeah. What would be your daily battle? What do you as a human have to overcome to keep pursuing the music business?
Wow, that's a great question. That is a really good question. I think the level of perseverance, I think, is the key, mm-hmm. And when you fall in love with it, it's easy to pursue it, So, I mean, I still love the instrument like day one. I'm just as frustrated as day one, Same with making albums, making records, I'm still just completely gung ho and so I think, if you have that kind of passion for it, I think it's easier to keep going anyway,
right. Right.
Another thing, I don't hear anybody talk about this really, but is your personal life in regards to that, I mean, if you have 9 kids, it's probably not a good career path for you,
No.
I
have 6. I have 6.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I figuratively and literally screwed myself out of a career. I mean, I was so pathetic. And don't get me wrong, I love my wife very much. I love my children so much. But I totally screwed myself out of a career because I was so desperate to be loved and needed. It's such a pathetic. I mean, I'm willing to hold my hands up and say I did it. I wanted to be loved so bad because I felt like I wasn't. That I pursued that and walked away from a career. And of course, I unfairly take it out on my wife and my children subconsciously because I'm like, oh man, I shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
Well, yeah, I suppose, I mean, family's always first, Yeah. I mean, for sure, I just mean like in the way of, maybe having a good support system where you're able to and encouraged instead of demeaned or or not taken seriously, maybe. I know that happens a lot. People don't get taken seriously, especially maybe from some of the small towns where we're from, So but I think perseverance, no matter what obstacle you're talking about, perseverance always prevails,
Yeah. No, that's so true. Here I am talking to you and I look at you and I see a cool guy. And I know that sounds silly and you may not feel like that at all. But I've noticed that the best bands in the world, the bands that at least capture me, there's an inherent sense of coolness. There's like you can't quantify it. You can't make it happen. It's just there. It exists, right? It's part of the intangible makeup of you, of Chris, of your band. Do you feel cool?
No, not in no way whatsoever, and not at all, man. And I'm not sure that I agree. I don't know, man. I mean, is Phil Collins cool? I mean, he's
cool in a nerdy way.
He's cool because he's Phil Collins. So, it's an odd thing. I know what you mean. Like, Arthur Fonzarelli. He's just cool, man. I don't know what it is. He's just,
he can't help it.
I'm like you. I don't know. I don't know if anyone really sees themselves as cool. I certainly don't, But you're cool.
Oh no. I am so not cool. Like I totally, I say this almost every show, but I have mega imposter syndrome. Like I totally don't believe I belong here. Right. I mean, I'm so grateful that I'm here. I'm so grateful I have a fan base and a listener pool and all these things.
Sure.
But every time I get on an interview, especially with somebody like you, who I am kind of nuts about, right? Like, I mean, I have fallen hard for your band, that I find myself tongue-tied, that there's lots of uhs and ahs and stutters and I'm afraid that I'm going to look stupid. It's a weird thing.
No, I do that too. Like these interviews give me crazy anxiety and I get a little, I stumble over my words also, I'm working on it. I don't come across that way in person, so it's just this fourth wall thing that's weird for me, but I'm working on it. So I think I've watched your stuff, man. I think it's great. Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it.
Oh,
Seriously, you sound great.
Thanks. Oh, well, thanks.
And it shows like it's people like you and shows like this that make the rock and world go around. I mean, Queen had it wrong. It's people like you that promote music, talk about music. You know, they do these things so there's no imposter, man. So,
well, that's true. I mean, again, I don't want to sit here and like self-congratulate myself, but if there's anything I am, it's completely all in, right? Like, I mean, I'm all about the music. I'm all about the betterment of the best bands in the world. And it's probably simply that I didn't have a complete career. Like in my world, right? I got to the record deal, but I never got past the record deal. You know, we had 2 development deals, then we got dropped. And so I never got to experience the thing you're doing, right? I didn't get the big tour. I got a lot of sessions, but it's not the same thing. There's no sexiness to that, right? And so in a lot of ways, I can't wait to serve you and people like you, Brian, because you're pursuing it. You're using the gift and you're elevating the game and you're making it harder for guys like me, which is exactly the way it should be. The world should always be moving forward. We shouldn't be regressing.
Yeah. So you say making it harder for guys like you. In what way? What do you mean?
Well, I mean it in a good way. And I'm glad you asked. You're making it harder because you're refining it. You're distilling the music. So I look at something like, I don't know, Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? Okay. Obviously, I mean, a god among men, you know, I mean, really, truly a mega talent. And in some ways, his death, right, creates his legend. I mean, it can't go away. He will forever be whatever he was, 36 years old or whatever. He will always be Stevie Ray Vaughan. It'll never go away. But then a band like you comes along after a White Stripes that is a little sloppier, a little gunkier, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, hey, we love this thing. We're going to continue this forward. We're going to show the next stage of the evolution. And it's not that you're trying to make it more difficult, Brian, but you are making it so, you're making the music so, what's the word? It's so well done. It's performed so well. It's written so well. It's produced so well. It's so intense and strong, and it makes you want to bounce and groove that you're forcing guys like me. If I were to ever go back into the business or any other band that's following you, they've got to one up big time because you guys are, excuse my language, completely fucking up the system and you're forcing bands to elevate. You really are. I mean, the blue check means something, brother. It does. It just does. You know? And I think it's badass. I mean, I listen to that and I'm like, well, yeah, I can play all that stuff, but it wouldn't sound the same, right? Like if you died and I joined the band, it wouldn't sound like the Cold Stairs anymore. It would sound like Rob playing with the guitar player from the Cold Stairs. Yeah,
well, maybe so. Let's hope we don't have to find out.
No, we're not. Yeah. We're not.
No, I appreciate what you're saying. I'm not sure I agree with you completely, but okay. I do appreciate it. You know, there's the blue check or not. You know, when we go up to play, like we just want to play well. We just want to sound good. We want to be a good experience. We want the sound to be right. You know, we want the audience to enjoy it. We want to enjoy it. We want to sound right for us too, and that's all we're thinking about. You know, we just want to play well. You know, we love going to work. I mean, that's where the joys are for us is doing it, you know?
Yeah. What kind of support are you getting from Mascot?
Mascot's been great. They've been great. When we did our Scandinavian tour, they fast tracked our merchandise so we could have it available for the tour. And that really helped out, you know, that really saved us. You know, when we bought tickets for that tour, plane tickets, they were really expensive. And, but Mascot's been great, man. They have just been, they keep us up to date in the loop. You know, I had no idea like how many emails are involved with, you know, a real label, a professional label on that size, you know. So it's a big group. They have a lot of, you know, they have a lot of employees and our contact there, Lauren, she's just amazing. She just keeps us in the loop, and so we don't miss things, and we know when stuff's coming out. But so it's a planned, cohesive effort.
Yeah.
So,
would you mind, though, if I could, maybe my last sort of professional question would be this. Do you mind sharing what it's like to be on a label? Like, what are they doing for you? Because, we all know nowadays that unless you're Adele or, a really, really gigantic act, you're really not going to get what we would think of as, say, 1970s label support, where you're getting the Nigel Tufnell food and the backstage.
Of course.
You're paying for the whole thing. There's almost no reimbursements, and on top of that, you typically owe these labels a lot of money for releases down the road. So I'm just kind of curious that you don't have to talk about the financials or anything, but what do you get as a benefit from being on a label like Mascot?
Well, Chris and I always talked about we wanted to work with a label. We wanted to work with someone who knew more about putting out a record than we did. And we've been talking to Ron at Mascot for several years. His history is well documented, and they knew exactly that. If you look at Mascot's roster, they have a bunch of veterans, bands that have been around for a long time, and guys that have had good deals, bad deals, independent deals, etc. And they get there and they don't leave. A lot of them, they stay there. They seem to be happy, not someone begging to get out of their contract, and so in that way, it's been great. But you're right, it's not the 70s anymore. Those kind of budgets, they don't make sense in 2021, so, but they've been great. I mean, we had our record finished, and we put a lot of money into it, into Heavy Shoes. We had that record finished before we signed with Mascot, so they
it's so good.
Thank you.
Oh my God. So what's next for you guys?
What's next? Some live shows. We have a couple of dates in the Midwest, a few different little mini runs, and then that's in August and September. Then October we go to California to play Aftershock Festival in Sacramento. We're the first band on Sunday, and it's sold out. And if you take a magnifying glass, you can see our name at the bottom of the T-shirt. It's like trying to look for Mars, on a cloudy evening. But
look, it's Ganymede. I can see it.
Yeah.
But you're on the poster, man.
Yeah, right. That's right. We're on the poster, so it's on the other side. You have to flip it over, but it's on there.
Yeah, you get the cool laminate too, Brian.
Oh yeah. Of course, got to save those, right? Or it didn't happen.
Yeah. So who's on that bill that you want to see?
My stepson loves Gojira, so if he makes it out for the show, I would like to see them. I think they're Saturday night. I've seen them before, and that's heavier than my taste normally.
Yeah, sure.
They kick so much ass, man. They just, they're everything about metal that I love, and none of the stuff that I don't.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I mean, like silly lyrics and like bro rock. I'm going to kick your ass. All that shit. Their lyrics are much better than that. And, just four dudes up there. I'll tell you what else I like, man. Like our band. I respect this so much. Bands like Clutch, Mastodon, Gojira, guys that have been Coheed and Cambria, guys that have been doing this 25 years, the same dudes. That says a lot about all those dudes, So, anyway, so I'm just fanboyed on Gojira a little bit there. Yeah, I'd like to see them.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, I fanboy on Gojira. They're the only band I've seen 5 times.
No kidding.
That band, there's something about it, and you know what I'm talking about. Whether you're a big metal guy or not. I mean, I'm a moderately big metal guy. Obviously, I interview a lot of metal guys.
Yeah.
But what I love about Gojira is that they're the only band that I've seen in my life that pushes and pulls like they do. That there's all these unintentional most of the time too, time changes and right. There's this dissonance, but the whole thing is so controlled. They are so clearly a 25-year rehearsed, established band, the natural feel of the pulse and how everything changes is undeniable with them. And Joe undoes the idea of the Cookie Monster vocal because he actually screams in pitch.
Yeah.
And most people don't know what it is they like about Gojira. They can't place it, but I'm like, it's because he's actually going, ah, 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 ah. You know what I mean? He's not just going, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
That and the rhythm thing you mentioned, you know, almost like, it must be the brother connection, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Eddie and Alex just kind of sway together, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a swing to their music. I think that's why it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool. Some fun little questions to end this. What did your parents warn you about that you ignored and did anyway?
Oh man, you mean with music or just in general?
In general, any answer is perfect.
Okay.
Don't swim after you've eaten.
My father told me once to not attempt dryer repair, you know, and I'd moved out, you know, and I knew everything, so I didn't need his advice. You know, of course I'll unplug it, Dad. Yeah, of course. You know, I inadvertently plugged it back in, and I'm checking to see if I have my dryer working. You know, and I shocked myself. So that's one that he brings up a lot. So I shocked myself with the dryer.
Yeah, it hurts. I've done it myself. It does. Not a lot of fun. Okay, well, so then that asks the next question. Then, how do you think you're gonna die? Have you ever visualized how you're gonna die?
How am I gonna die? I don't. Man, that's rough. That's rough. I hope. You know, I can tell you how I don't want to die, and I think it's the same answer for all of us. But what a Debbie Downer question, though. You know, not in like a rest home or something. Everyone would prefer to avoid that. But
sure.
How would I like to die? I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
No worries. I actually don't want you to die, Brian. I just thought I would, you know, kind of check in on you and see.
Yeah. What's the best answer you've had to that question?
I actually had the band Yawn from Norway, and the guy said, choking on a banana. And we just started all laughing like, are you kidding me? You want to die choking on a banana? He's like, well, I don't want to die that way, but it would be funny if I did. Right?
Okay.
So I mean, like mine, I always joke sort of a Groundhog Day. If I could die and then come back and say, wow, that was an intense experience, I would want something awful, right? Just to say I had the experience, like being dismembered, or you know what I mean?
Okay.
I know that sounds insane, and you're like, dude, I got to get off this podcast. But
yeah. No, are you talking about like you want to have the experience of like being attacked by a bear or something, just knowing you can come back to life?
Exactly. Yeah. I want to feel the terror.
Okay. Plane crashes and all that stuff.
Yeah. I've actually joked for years that I'm going to die on my the eve of my 100th birthday in a plane crash. So
I'll take it, you know.
That's actually pretty epic.
Yeah. That is pretty epic. Yeah.
Okay. So let's come back down to earth here. When do you feel most like a little kid?
Most like, you know what? Putting new drum heads on. I just love it still, like day one, you know?
Yeah.
Like this majestic piece of plastic is just going to sound so much better than it did 30 minutes ago.
As a drummer, I totally understand you. There's something about that untouched, unstruck head. Yeah. And you know when you strike it and you have that perfect resonant sound, that you're like, oh, good God. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And it's gone within a half an hour. It's all gone.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wish I would have asked you today?
Oh, man. I got asked this question by somebody the other day at a restaurant. What's the question you wish they would ask? Maybe honestly, like occupational hazards, you know, like just some things besides the stuff you already know, like, don't do drugs, those kind of stupid things. I mean, of course, don't do drugs. That applies to everybody, or drink yourself to death or whatever. But I think there should be more awareness about hearing damage and earplugs and shows, just in general, how shows sound, I went to a concert earlier this week and it sounded so bad. And it just made me really sad. Like, sad for the bands that were playing, sad for the people that didn't notice or care, and, I just, I feel like we owe our audiences more than that, really, and then, the ear protection, just better awareness, I'm looking forward to see what the future has to offer in that capacity,
Yeah. I've never understood why a show has to be 110 decibels when the room is 20 by 40. I've never understood that. There's no reason for it. I saw Muse back in 2006, 2007, and they opened the show. I don't remember the song at the moment, but they opened the show so softly. We're all standing there in a huge theater, 6,000 people type theater. And we're all talking. I almost couldn't hear the band. It was so low. And they did it on purpose, of course, because they wanted to build this big traumatic thing. But I thought, wow, that's unique. And nobody does that.
It's really powerful. It's hard to, any band can make everybody have to talk louder, but if you can make them shut up, that's really impressive. And it sets up a beautiful opportunity for a moment to bring the energy back up, for sure. Yeah. More dynamics in shows, and that's really cool that you saw that.
Yeah. Well, last thing, I guess I'll end with this is phones are a huge thing at shows. People want to document everything that they think they need to document. And I say that way because they don't need to document it that way. I saw Prince in 2013, and at his show, of course, there were signs all over that said, no phones, nothing's allowed. And sure enough, somebody broke the rule, and Prince actually stopped the show and had the guy ejected right in front of everybody, like a dad, like scolding his child. And it was such a great moment because I realized I don't know half of this guy's back catalog. I don't know the deep stuff. I only know the hits. But pulling that phone down forced me to be present and be a part of the show. Yeah. What's your feelings on phones and recording devices at shows?
I think if someone, I don't have a problem. It's going to happen, so I don't have a problem with it. Certainly you hope that it sounds good. You have no control over, if their phone audio is distorting or, you hope that it sounds good. But I think if somebody's videoing, hopefully it's because they dig it and they want to save it for later, Yeah. As much as, if someone is just face down on their phone looking at Instagram and not paying attention to your show, that's much worse. If you want to take photos and document it, you're having a good time. That's what this human experience is about. That's what, that's how we do what we do, is play for people. So that doesn't bother me,
Yeah. Well, all I know is I want to see you play live someday soon. So
yeah. And what part of the world are you in again?
I'm near Seattle. I'm about 30 miles east of Seattle. I'm out in the Cascade Mountains, actually.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah, awesome.
Very beautiful out here. We don't get a lot of shows here, actually. Something about Seattle being just, it's at that point where where do you go from there, right? It tends to be the last day of the tour or the first day of a tour for a lot of bands.
See. It's a routing problem.
Yeah. It's a routing problem. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So have you played up here?
Never.
Yeah, there you go. There's my point.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of places we haven't been that we need to get to, but yeah, I can totally see that geographically, that it would be a challenge to make that make sense,
Yeah. Well, I hope you can get out here, man. I'm going to do everything I can to get the listeners to pay attention and love on your stuff. We'll include all the links we need to get them to merch and new albums and downloads and everything. So I'm just really, really freaked out that you're here, man. I still don't know how to end the show because
Hey,
this is so cool.
oh, thanks, Rob. I appreciate you listening. I really do. So
Yeah. So thanks, Brian, and say hey to Chris, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
we'll do it. Thanks, Rob.